There are people walking around this planet who seem to bend reality to their will. They get promoted without applying. They attract perfect relationships without dating apps. They manifest opportunities that seem impossible. While the rest of us, we're grinding our asses off for scraps, for nothing. And so what I'm about to share is going to piss off everyone who thinks success comes from working harder. Because these reality masters, they're not doing more, but they're being different. I'm going to tell you something that might sound absolutely ridiculous, but stick with me because this changed everything for me and my clients. And I used to think reality was this fixed thing, like we're all just hamsters running on wheels, hoping that the universe throws us a bone. But what if I told you that reality is actually more like Netflix, okay? It's just showing you what you've been unconsciously been subscribing to. I know. I sound probably like some hippie guy and something that your yoga instructor would say after too much ayahuasca. But here's the thing. I've got the receipts, right? And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why you've been exhausting yourself, swimming upstream while other people are just floating downstream with a margarita in their hand. Because 8 years ago, I was that guy. I was that guy who felt like I was constantly fighting reality. It felt like a war. Reality felt like a struggle in a war. I'd work 12-hour days while watching my coworkers get promoted above me. I'd follow every business strategy perfectly, but barely making ends meet while seeing other people casually mention an idea and they would have investors throwing money at them. It was like I was playing life on expert mode while everyone else had cheat codes while on easy mode. You know that feeling when you're playing a video game, right? And you keep dying at the same level over and over? Well, that was my entire existence back then. Thank God. But the most frustrating part was I was doing everything right. I had the work ethic. I had the knowledge. I read self-help books. I was taking massive action and I was busy. But it felt like I was pushing a boulder uphill, like every single day, while other people just seemed to just flow. Like reality was working with them instead of against them. And it was like they had some secret handshake with the universe that nobody taught me. Don't worry, you don't have to join any secret societies for this. And I started to think maybe I was just unlucky, or that maybe with success, my dad was right, that success wasn't meant for people like me, right? I would have these moments where I would almost break through, like get close to landing big clients, almost getting that promotion, nearly having that breakthrough, and then something would go wrong. It was like this invisible force field around my limitations that I couldn't break through no matter how hard I tried, no matter how much coaching I had. But here's what changed everything. After spending thousands on retreats, coaching, hours in meditation, plant medicine, working with hundreds of clients who have completely transformed their realities, I discovered something profound. And it's that these people who seem to effortlessly attract what they wanted weren't working harder or even smarter. They were working multidimensionally, and they had learned to work with reality's natural laws instead of against them. They were not trying to force outcomes from their current limited identity. They had returned to their infinite nature and naturally attracted whatever they wanted. And reality was simply reflecting back to that back to them. Think about it like this. Most people are trying to change their reflection by arguing with the mirror. They're standing in front of the mirror saying, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, why do I look broke and stressed?" And the mirror's like, "Bro, I'm just showing you what you're giving me to work with." But reality masters, they change themselves first, and the mirror has no choice but to reflect that new version back. Come on, that is not magic. That is not magic, that's quantum. So today, this is going to be a big one. So pop up in a bottle of wine, and I'm going to show you exactly how reality masters operate, why you've been exhausting yourself fighting against the current, and most importantly, how to align yourself with reality's natural flow so that success becomes inevitable instead of effortful. And we're going to break down the 7 biggest mistakes that keep you stuck in this cycle of struggle. And I'm going to give you the exact framework that I use with my clients called identity frequency mapping for the first time ever. And it allows you to broadcast coherent signals that reality responds to instantly. That's right, instantly. But here's the thing. You are not unlucky, and you don't need to work harder. You just need to learn how to work with reality instead of against it. And once you understand this, you'll never struggle again. But first, let me tell you about the biggest lie that we've been sold about how reality works. Hey, listen, if you've been feeling stuck but you know you're capable of more, then I've got a few spots available for my one-on-one mentorship. And in this program, I'll personally guide you through my identity frequency mapping process to break through the patterns holding you back so you can create the results you've been chasing. Whether that's more income, more freedom to spend time with your loved ones, physical healing, or finding that soul-led relationship, or finally living that dream life that you've been longing for. Now, I only work with a few clients a month to keep the quality of my services high and to give you my full attention. So spots tend to fill up very, very quickly. So if you are sick and tired of flawed manifestation techniques that are complex or don't even work and want simplicity, then book a call to speak with my team who have been personally guided by me. Link is in the description. Now back to the video, okay? And it starts with mistake number 1, okay? This is gonna hit close to home, so pay attention. You are trying to change your reality while operating from your current limited identity. You're trying to change your reality while operating from your current limited identity. That is like trying to order a 5-star restaurant meal while in the McDonald's drive-thru. The universe is looking at you like, dude, this is a McDonald's. We don't have caviar here. We don't serve that here. And I used to do this all the time. I'd sit in meditation, try to manifest my next level of abundance while my nervous system was literally in fight or flight mode because I was scared of losing what I already had. Think about how insane that is. That is like trying to plant an oak tree while constantly digging up the roots to check if it's growing. Oh, and I remember one morning, I was doing this visualization where I was seeing my business scale to 7 figures, okay? I'm feeling expansive, feeling worthy. And then my accountant calls after the meditation, well, a couple of hours after the meditation, with my quarterly taxes due. I went from abundance guru to scarcity in less than a second. I'm sitting there thinking like, universe, we just had this whole conversation about expansion. Why are you sending me a bill instead of clients? Or maybe you could relate to this. You make good money, your bank account looks healthy, but you still have this level of anxiety when you check it. Or you feel guilty on spending money on yourself. You still have that voice that says, what if this all disappears tomorrow? Because here's what I learned, and this is backed by neuroscience. Our brains can't distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined, but it can absolutely distinguish between thought with emotion and thought without emotion. So when we are trying to manifest from a place of fear of loss, imposter syndrome, or I don't deserve this, you are literally programming your subconscious to create more limitation, even when you have money in the bank. Yep. That's like trying to tune to a jazz station while your radio is set to Anxiety FM. And this is why most successful people still feel empty inside. They've got the external success, but they are still operating from the scarcity frequency. They are rich, but not abundant. That is a massive difference, okay? This is why when I work with clients, the first thing we do is identity frequency mapping. We identify exactly what the frequency that they are broadcasting is and clear the distortion patterns that keep them stuck in limitation consciousness. Because how many times have you tried to manifest something while secretly believing you don't deserve it? Oof. Oh yeah. That is like trying to download a movie while your internet is disconnected. The universe is getting mixed signals. Like, what? Do you want this or you don't want this? I can give it to you, but I feel like you don't deserve it. Now, moving into mistake number 2 is what I call effort results disconnect. You're working harder than a single mom with 3 jobs, but it seems like you can never get ahead. You see others getting promoted, finding love, building wealth, seemingly without effort, while you struggle for even a small win. And I was like that. I used to think that this was about luck or privilege. I'd see some guy post on Instagram about his overnight success, and I'm like, bro, what the heck happened to me? But here's what I discovered. This isn't about luck or privilege, but it's about frequency alignment. These people have learned to align their internal frequency with their desired reality first. Okay? They've learned to align their internal frequency with their desired reality first, making external success feel natural and inevitable rather than forced. Think about tuning into a radio, okay? When you are perfectly tuned to Abundance FM, the music comes through crystal clear without effort. But if you are slightly off frequency, you get a bit of static interference, like shh, okay? And you have to work really hard to make out that music. You're trying to decipher what that music is. What is this? Okay, I can hear a bit of jazz, but there's a bit of static. So most people are trying to force results while broadcasting the wrong frequency. They're tuned to Struggle FM and wondering why they can't hear Abundance Radio. However, the masters understand that effort without alignment is just expensive therapy. You can work as hard as you want, okay? But if you are broadcasting the wrong frequency, you're going to get really good at struggling. Mistake number 3 is operating from survival mode instead of creation mode. If you are tired of life feeling like an uphill battle, bills, relationship drama, health issues, career setbacks, that is like your nervous system is like a smoke detector that's way too sensitive, okay? Someone burns a toast 3 houses down and you're in full evacuation mode. Your body is treating every challenge like it's a saber-toothed tiger, when it's really just a strongly worded email from your boss. A little constructive criticism from your missus or your man. And honestly, I used to live in this constant state of low-level panic. My nervous system was so reactive. Someone would cut me off in traffic and I would spend the next hour punching them in my head, torturing them in my mind. My stress response was so overreactive. I once had a panic attack because my Wi-Fi was slow. I'm sitting there like, oh, come on, I have a deadline. This is it. Death by buffering. But masters don't experience no challenges, okay? But they have simply trained their nervous system to respond from creation consciousness, coherence, rather than survival. They stay coherent in chaos, which allows them to navigate challenges from a place of power rather than reactivity. When you're in survival mode, your brain literally shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, and hands the control to your limbic system, which is basically your extremities preparing to run, fight, or hide. You're basically giving a caveman with anger management issues control. Okay? From switching to driving a Tesla to riding a donkey. You're still moving, but the experience is going to be completely different. And this is why I am so obsessed with relaxing. And brain and heart coherence, so important. But that's just one aspect. You need full coherence, okay? Literally training your system, training your nervous system to stay in creation even when life gets spicy. And when you master this, challenges become opportunities instead of obstacles. But here's where it gets really interesting, really interesting. And this is something that most people never realize. So if you're watching this video, you're amazing. And this is mistake number 4, okay? The invisible resistance problem. And you know you're capable of so much more. But something is invisible, is keeping you stuck in the same old patterns despite your efforts. Well, that's like trying to drive forward with the accelerator in your foot on the accelerator and one foot on the brake. You're pressing the gas, the engine's revving, but you're barely moving forward. And you're still sitting there like, what the fuck? What the hell's wrong with this car? For me, this invisible resistance showed up as self-sabotage. Every time I got close to a breakthrough, I'd find a way to mess it up. I'd get a big opportunity and then I'd become the person who would procrastinate, the biggest procrastinator on the planet. That's who I'd become. But here's what I discovered. This resistance isn't personal, it's programmed. We all have these unconscious interference patterns, okay? Survival responses, limiting beliefs, old programming from childhood or traumatic experiences or emotionally moving experiences. And that's blocking us from our journey to our desired reality. Like a virus on a computer, okay? Your computer wants to run fast. You want it to run fast. But there's this invisible program running in the background, eating up all the processing power. This is where identity frequency mapping becomes important because masters have identified and cleared these distortion patterns that are in the way of their infinite nature. They've debugged their internal operating system, so there's no friction between intention and manifestation. How fucking cool is that? no friction between intention and manifestation. Without this internal friction or resistance, change becomes effortless. It's like the difference between swimming upstream and floating downstream. Same destination, completely different experience. And speaking of effortless change, this brings us to mistake number, what are we up to? 5, okay? Which is probably the most exhausting one of all, okay? Mistake number 5, you're exhausted from trying to control every detail. Micromanaging outcomes. Forcing things to happen on your timeline. Yep. You're like a tiger mom or a tiger parent to your own manifestations, universe. Did you remember to send that opportunity? I needed it yesterday. What about the perfect timing? Are you sure you're handling this, universe? Maybe I should do it myself. That's what you sound like. You know what I mean? That's what I used to sound like. And I used to be the control freak of manifestation. I had timelines for my timelines. I had backup plans for my backup plans. But here's the thing. Trying to control your reality is like trying to conduct an orchestra while you're tone deaf. And masters understand that true power comes from surrender. Yep. Setting clear intentions and then trusting that the quantum field or the universe or infinite intelligence is going to orchestrate outcomes in ways that our limited mind could have never planned. That's right. And you gotta stay convicted in that, because the quantum field has access to infinite possibilities and perfect timing. Our conscious mind can only process about 40 bits of information per second. Your subconscious processes 11 million bits per second. So, us trying to micromanage the universe is like a calculator trying to tell a supercomputer how to run. When you learn to surrender control, you don't lose power. You gain access to infinite power. And that is the difference between pushing a river and flowing with it. Mistake number 6 is you are tired of your mood and confidence being dependent on external circumstances, okay? You're tired of your mood and confidence being depleted by external circumstances. Well, you're basically like a yo-yo. Like good news comes in, you're on top of the world. Bad news hits, you stay at home on a Friday night eating a whole tub of ice cream and questioning your life choices, okay? I used to be that emotionally unstable person you've ever met. My mood was so unpredictable. But here's what I learned. When your emotional state depends on external circumstances, you are basically giving your power away to everything outside of you. You're like a leaf in the wind, just getting blown around by whatever happens. Masters have learned to generate their desired emotional states internally. Listen to this. Regardless of what's happening around them. Yep. This is emotional sovereignty, and it allows you to maintain that frequency. It allows you to maintain the frequency that bends reality. You get that? That bends reality. Yes, that's how powerful you are. Think about it. If you can only feel abundant when you have money, you'll never attract money. You might as well go work hard for it, matter to matter stuff, because the universe responds to your frequency, not your circumstances. You have to feel it first, then you'll see it. When you master emotional sovereignty, you become unshakable. External circumstances become like the weather. You notice them, but they don't determine your internal climax unless you let the weather affect you, because you might have to remake some choices. And now, mistake number 7 is you feel trapped by your current circumstances, okay? Now this can be your job, where you live, your current relationships or lack of relationships, financial situation, believing you have to work within these limitations. You're like a goldfish who's convinced that the bowl is the entire ocean. Well, this bowl is just how life is. I guess I'll swim in circles and let me just hope for the best, okay? And I used to think my circumstances were permanent. Like I was 28 years old, drowning in debt, trying to find a job. I look around, fuck, this is it. This is my life. I'm never gonna get a girlfriend. So I was getting good at being miserable. Because that's the trap. That's a trap, because circumstances are just the current reflection of past frequencies. They're like a photograph of who you used to be, not a prediction of who you can become. And masters understand that circumstances are temporary. By shifting their identity frequency, they create new circumstances rather than trying to improve old circumstances. It's like being in the movie theater and not liking the movie. Most people try to argue with the screen, but masters know, let me just change the film and change the movie. in the projector. Oh, I'll never forget the day that this all clicked for me. I was sitting in my car in a parking lot and I just got rejected for another job. And I was so frustrated. I was like a crazy person talking to myself. Like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why does everyone seem to have it figured out? And I'm stuck in this loop. And then something shifted. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was divine intervention. But this knowing just washed over me. Not a thought, but a knowing. Okay, that's the difference. And the knowing was, what if I'm not trying to change my circumstances? What if I change who I am? That's when I realized I'd been approaching everything backwards. And everyone says this, right? Change yourself, not the circumstances. But I was trying to change my reality while staying the same person. But reality doesn't respond to what we want, it responds to who we are. So let me tell you, I made a decision right there, in that parking lot, after a job rejection, that I was going to stop trying to fix my circumstances and start transforming my identity. I was going to become the person who naturally attracts what I want. So I studied quantum physics, neuroscience, consciousness. I went to Joe Dispenza retreats, worked with mentors. Most importantly, I started doing the inner work to clear the interference patterns that were keeping me stuck. Meditation, hypnotherapy, stuff that would actually get me into the subconscious mind, not just conscious shit. That's when I knew I had to share this with others. Because if someone like me, who was anxious, broke, struggling, living with his parents, single, thought that he would never get a girlfriend again, if I can completely transform my reality, then anyone can. And here's what I want you to understand. Transformation happens when you stop trying to change our external reality and start changing yourself from within. How do you do it? How do you do it? Well, write this down. First, you have to identify exactly what frequency you're currently broadcasting. Most people have no idea that they are stuck on Struggle FM and they're wondering why they can't hear Abundance Radio. Secondly, you got to clear the distortion patterns, the unconscious programming, survival responses, the limiting beliefs that create resistance between you and that desired reality. Thirdly, you got to return to and remember your infinite nature. Okay? Train your nervous system to maintain it consistently, and listen carefully. Even when life gets challenging, it's as simple as that. You have to maintain coherence. But the third one is the hardest because that's when it counts the most. You have to stay in coherence even when life is lifing. And let me tell you, when you master this process, you become like a tuning fork for your desired reality. You're broadcasting such clear, coherent signal that reality has no choice but to respond. And this is not theory. This is the exact process I've used with hundreds of clients who've completely transformed their realities. And it's the same process that took me from broke and desperate to living the life that I used to only dream about. So if you're ready to stop fighting reality and start working with it, if you're tired of swimming upstream while others float effortlessly downstream, then let me help you master your identity frequency. Link in the description to learn more. Speak with one of my beautiful team members. But remember this, you already have everything you need within you. That's right. Not from external reality, but everything within you. You just need to learn how to access it consistently. It's all there. Stop trying to change your reflection by arguing with the mirror. Change yourself and watch reality bend to match your new frequency, because you are not here to struggle. You are here to master reality itself.